We are living in the best of times, my fellow wrestling fans, because last night on Monday Night Raw, after a lot of rumors, and you'd have to assume that it was be true, we got it confirmed that at the Raw Netflix debut, 6th of January show, we are getting CM Punk and Seth Rollins. And as I always do, imagine we went back a year or two, Survivor Series 2023, and I told you we were getting this match on Raw. You would have slapped me, and you would have been well within your rights. But it's super duper exciting, like it really is, because as I always go on about these videos, my favorite thing about wrestling is when I do not know who is going to win. And I don't know how you can pick between CM Punk and Seth Rollins. And of course, it all depends on what the flub we're doing at WrestleMania. Like, could we do a Roman Reigns versus CM Punk there? Of course we could. Or are we now going to start off a super duper whooper mega feud, which is why WWE is more than happy to do Seth versus CM Punk on Raw, because they know come WrestleMania, they're going to be in a, I don't know, barbed wire cage match of death. That's obviously not going to happen, but the last match will have more gravitas and more stakes and probably more nonsense than the first match, because that's how professional wrestling works. Now, that show in general is amazing, because you've also got Drew McIntyre. You've also got Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa. I think Drew McIntyre probably gets involved in that, and I think there's a wonderful poetic irony there, because he said he wants to go after Roman Reigns, although he needs to go after Solo Sikoa too, because that is the guy that pulled the ref out. But wouldn't it be a nice, again, poetic irony if Roman's about to win and Drew pulls the referee out? And WWE loves this at the moment, and more power to them. Keep doing the callbacks to the past, because it makes me feel like all my nerd time watching, I get rewarded for it, and then I feel good. But I thought everything we did on Raw with Punk and Seth was great. They just have a real back and forth, and that's why it's so good, because you can totally believe that it's real, probably because 99% of what they're saying is real. They're just happy to do business together. Are they sending Christmas cards to each other? Probably not, but maybe they're the best of friends. We don't know. This is when the whole thing about, okay, Vabe is dead, but it's not dead if you do it right, because again, nobody can actually sort this out in their heads about what's real and what's not real. Does he mean this and does he mean that? But it's good. And it doesn't really have a heel-face dynamic. Like, Seth Rollins is playing the bad guy just based on the crowd reactions. But Punk even said here, yeah, I did ghost him. Maybe I'm not necessarily a good guy all of the time. And then sort of, Seth tries to come back. Yeah, see, I did tell you that, but the fans are still with CM Punk. But that can change. We've seen that happen. It can switch on a dime, but it's just good television. And that's all I really want when I watch my entertainment show, is to be entertained, surprise, surprise. So I'm just going to be super excited for that 3-hour Raw, especially because we're going to get even more stuff we don't even know about. And once more, the murmurings have been, we're going to stack it up like WrestleMania. And now I think you can actually agree with that, because even from a Roman Solo and CM Punk Seth Rollins point of view, you could have put both of those things on WrestleMania and nobody would have been surprised. They're going, yes, I get it. It's invested in story and we've done loads here. Even with the Ula Fala stuff, it kind of leads you into the direction of, is The Rock going to turn up? I mean, it makes sense to me, because he's also technically a tribal chief, and they're trying to sort out the tribal chief. I mean, if The Rock is turning up, I doubt the Drew thing will happen, because I think that may be too over the top, but you just don't know. And it's very, very exciting, and I think that the WWE will sort of lay out their stall for what they do want to do over the next few months. Then there's the Royal Rumble, and there's another Saturday night's main event before the Royal Rumble, so it's super exciting, especially because I think we're going to do Kevin Owens, Cody Rhodes 3 at some point as well. It could be a ladder match with both belts hanging up there. But, I mean, gun to my head, I kind of think that Seth Rollins would win, just because I think it would surprise more people. But at the same time, if you're expecting a bunch of new people to tune in to the Netflix show, who is the person you want to showcase the most? Or do you just want to give it amazing stories? Is somebody going to get involved? I do not know. Like, Drew McIntyre found Seth Rollins yesterday, basically like, excuse me, you absolute goober, I told you this was going to happen. Now, on this episode, Seth was happy to ignore Drew. But again, going on what the new regime likes to do, I can absolutely WWE allowing Seth Rollins to be corrupted, because I will say this, I don't mind clown Seth Rollins and Seth Rollins. I don't think you can argue it, because that's what got him sort of connected with the crowd again after all the mad stuff that happened in 2019 with the Hell in a Cell. But I like his serious nature, I suppose, because he has a real issue that he wants to sink his teeth into. And I still think Seth Rollins is vastly underrated in many ways. Overrated. Yes, underrated. Sorry, he's underrated. He's underrated and doesn't get the credit that he deserves, because what he's saying is true again. He has kind of been a mainstay for the WWE for the last 10 years. Plus, he never really has a bad match. He has carried the show from time to time. There's a reason WWE made him the first world heavyweight champion. I think he's brilliant. Like, I really do think he's great. And I think he's one of these guys that when he's gone away, we'll realize how much we missed him and how much he adds to the product. So there is no reason why, what I'm trying to say is, there's no reason why you couldn't move him back into sort of a bad guy territory, or at least allow him to occupy that role for a few weeks, for a few months, and him teaming with Drew could be awesome. Because do you know who else could be thrown into that? Kevin Owens. And then you could even do a crazy match where it would be, who would it be? Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens and Drew McIntyre, I suppose taking on Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, and Roman Reigns. You could do that. We should do that. Everyone agree that we should do that? And so many people go, oh man, they're so stupid. Of course it's stupid. Give me stupid. It's professional wrestling. Reddit, book everything, and I will be a happy bald man. But yeah, Again, I can't call it. I think I would err towards Seth Rollins. I think it's more surprising, and I think that's how you could establish which side of the fence they are on. Because if he does use dastardly means, or if Drew McIntyre gets involved there, maybe that's what happens. Maybe Drew McIntyre helps out Seth Rollins, and that's enough to make Seth, well, go on in two ways. You can have a Gunther situation where you're like, how dare you do that to me? Or Seth could just be happy as a win over CM Punk, and then you just blow the whole thing up. And then Drew also gets some revenge over CM Punk too. See, that in WWE great these days that you can go, well, of course Drew would get involved there. He hates CM Punk. And even though he's not one of the four, because the four people are the Usos, Sami Zayn, and Roman Reigns, he ain't got no love lost for Punk. So yeah, really, really good stuff. More power to WWE for sort of taking a risk and doing it on quote-unquote free TV. But again, it's Raw on Netflix. We should be loading this show up. And shout out to the brand new logo as well. I thought it said WWE Reign, and now I've ruined it for everybody. Still actually think it's a good logo, especially with the Netflix N that kind of surrounds it. But I forgot we can't have fun with this stuff anymore, and I must be serious at all times. So please do forgive me for being a massive asshole. But yeah, the Roman Reigns match. I think Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley probably going to be on there too, because Rhea Ripley confirmed that Adam Pearce has made her the #1 contender. What did she call Dominic again? The dom-dom, the condom? Like a chicken tender slut, essentially. Is that a bad thing, necessarily, being slutty for chicken tenders? They are pretty good. I don't know. You have to make your mind up. His reaction was great. And that's something else we can do. I don't think it's a bad thing to go totally crazy, even with title changes. I would imagine the only title change we do is Rhea Ripley becoming the women's champion. But if you want to do another one, again, let's take some risks. You can always retroactively sort it out if it doesn't work. And look, we've already done one, right? Because the War Raiders won the belts on the Judgment Day. Thought that was great, given the video that we had for Eric and Ivar. And they have been through a lot. And it was sort of in their hometown. I think it was either Eric or Ivar. I can't remember now. But it was just nice. And I said there's some ups and downs on What Culture. Make sure you check out that video too. It's much more performative than me sat down here having a bit of a chat with y'all. Sometimes you can just do things and it's fine. I like changing titles on television because I think it gives you a reason to tune in. And when you do have title matches in the future, like, well, they may be changing it. We just don't know. They have done it before. But of course, it also ends the Judgment Day tag team reign, which hasn't been great. It's not their fault. They're just never given a chance to do anything with them. And now this opens the door for two things. Firstly, the Judgment Day can now implode. We teased that on Raw as well. And I think we can do it now. I'm not saying that we are past the point, but we're peaking. We're arriving at the time you want to see them going their separate ways. And I'm going to pitch this everywhere, till the cows come home, because the more I say it, the more I can manifest it. I love Eric and Ivar. I think they're tremendous, and I think they're super talented workers. But the New Day need to win these titles within a month, maybe on that January 6th show, and they need to do it in the most devious, horrible way possible. To the point you go, so not only are you slagging off Big E, now you're doing this too? I want them to be so despised. I want them to go into bottom of the barrel, basement dwelling, disgusting areas of life. And I actually think they're going to do that. I mean, they were just kicked out of the locker room. Rey Mysterio said, you're not allowed to change in here anymore. So they had to get changed in the damn hallway. So that, from their point of view, that does give them more impetus to be like, well, why don't we care about anyone? We're just going to win championships and be mega successful. Also, very funny that we now, within the law, have established that Rey Mysterio has locker room powers. So Dominic Mysterio, poor Rhea Ripley, right? Dominic Mysterio cheats on Rhea Ripley in the most dastardly of ways. You can get changed, Dom. Yeah, don't worry about it. Maybe he brings chicken tenders to the role. I don't know. Great match between Bron Breakker and Ludwig Kaiser. Enjoyed the fact that Bron Breakker had to sell his shoulder. It's not necessarily the Bron Breakker I want every single week, but I enjoyed us doing something differently. And it was another clean pin. So if we are taking everything that we did on Saturday night's main event and to here, I'll always forget a match. We had the Intercontinental title three-way, which Zoe Stark essentially won. Yeah, she squiffed his Z360 up a bit, but who the flub cares? So that was clean as a whistle, essentially. Same with Bron Breakker versus Ludwig Kaiser. I mean, nothing they really do is clean because they're just throwing each other into all our wrestling friends on the outside. And even the tag team title match, well, no, Damian Priest got involved in that. So there's your shenanigans. But one a show is more than fine. But WWE kind of did a 180 recently, and I think it benefits hugely from doing that. Like, you don't want it to become where you're always expecting shenanigans, because then shenanigans don't exist. And it's actually the non-shenanigans that you look for. But yeah, just a really, really well-structured show. I mean, clearly they have some big plans. Well, clearly they're treating the January 6th thing like a PLE, a pay-per-view. So now they're just operating as if it is one of those. They're going to go full steam ahead. We're going to learn about Cody Rhodes this episode of SmackDown. It made me laugh. It was the funniest thing on Raw. Cut to Joe Tessitore. It's not his fault. He's just doing what he's told. He's like, hey, man, you want an update on on Cody Rhodes. Well, first of all the social media clips did over 45 million views. Wait, are you happy? This dastardly attack? You should be devastated by this. You should be offended that so many people wanted to watch this. Turns out Cody hasn't fractured anything. He's going to take a couple of weeks off. He should come back on the last USA Raw, which should be the 31st or whenever it is. And maybe you could even do the Kevin Owens Cody Rhodes match there, because again, there's more rumors that we're going to do a big send off for the USA Network on Raw, which makes sense. They have been partners for a long old time, and that also ends the year in a nice fun peaches and cream skipping through the forest way, right? Because Cody Rhodes can retain. I think there is a missed opportunity without letting Kevin Owens be the world champion, but I think we've got some good plans for him going forward, so I'm not too worried about that. Sami Zayn also turned out to beat up Drew McIntyre. That was all of 8 seconds of TV, but again, it just prolongs the story, so I was a big fan of that. And the Pure Fusion Collective beat up Damage Control, which kind of ties into the Intercontinental title tournament. Let's keep Pure Fusion Collective on TV. Didn't want to think about changing their name, but that was one of the negatives, I would say, over the last 6 months, is that we established this new group. And I like what we did with the Judgment Day or Bloodline or somebody else I'm not thinking of right now. They then just kind of faded into the abyss, and we never really allowed them to explain why they had got together, what their plans were. I know Sonya Deville did some promos like, oh, we're going to take over the division, but then didn't turn up for work in terms of the story. So you weren't able to really capitalize on that. But I like Zoe Stark winning. I don't think she should win the entire tournament. I'm now sort of leaning towards Natalya, because I think we gave Chelsea Green the US title one, which is a couple of thumbs up. But Natalya, I think, just for the same reason. Like, Chelsea Green smashed it in 2024. Natalya's been smashing it since about 2004. So she probably deserves something just to say thanks very much, well done, which is a strange thing to say, because the story and the reaction should always be what you're aiming for in WWE, but there's always exceptions to that rule. And I think most people would love Natalya having the belt, and she doesn't have to have a long run. It could even be 6 weeks or so. It could even be less. You could even hold it to the Royal Rumble and then do something. But we're crowning that on the January 6th show as well. So there is absolutely loads to come. But I would imagine that CM Punk, unless something else is announced, I think CM Punk, Seth Rollins main events over Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, unless The Rock is going to be there. I understand, biggest star in the world. We can talk about that for ages. So let's not do it here. But it's a very exciting time, and I think WWE has operated really well just throughout the whole year, in always giving you little nuggets that you want to jump onto, go, oh, what's going to happen there, and what's going to happen here. And it wasn't sort of a Raw that was like, oh my gosh, but it just worked, right? And it just took you to where you want to go next week, or at least got you excited. I think they taped it for the holidays, which is good, give wrestlers more time off. And it also sounds like we're going to do Chad Gable versus Otis on that Netflix Raw. Now, there was a tiny part of me that was a bit annoyed, because I'm like, how dare you forget about this for so long and then try and sneak it back in? But I'll take what I can get sometimes. WWE should have done a better job with this overall, but at least we've gone back to it. I mean, Chad Gable just walking up and going, oh yeah, I don't like you, I should whoop your ass. He'll beat Tozawa, then I'm sure Ivy Nile will do something with Maxine Dupree. But as long as Otis beats Chad Gable on that January 6th episode, I'm going to be so damn happy, because I love Otis, and I want him to be my best friend. So even that's cool. And we have all the stuff with the Final Testament as well. The Miz is essentially got Stockholm Syndrome or been kidnapped. And there's also the stuff with Pete Dunne and Butch. Can't call him Butch. No, Pete Dunne, R-Truth, who calls him Butch. But these are all things you can do as well. Are we going to do a Miz Karrion Kross match in that January show? Feels a bit too soon. I would imagine the Wyatt Six probably get their win back. But we are doing Dexter Lumis versus The Miz next week, and this was cool as well. Again, a little thing. But Karrion Kross mentioned, didn't he kidnap you once? Yes, he did. Now you've kidnapped The Miz. So we've gone full circle. So I think that is Raw's trump card at the moment, is it doesn't need to be a home run gangbuster, oh, this is the best thing I've ever seen show, but it just ticks away. It's so easy to watch, and all the little things you want to get wrapped up. We introduce new things that you can get excited about for next week. I am slightly apprehensive about it going back to 3 hours, because I think they've really got the 2-hour format down, and I know I've been enjoying it more the last few weeks, but there's pros to all this as well. More people get opportunities. We don't have to upload a bunch of social media skits that usually we'd see on the show. Let's just wait and see. I just think it's going to be a lot for wrestling fans in 2025, because essentially you've got 10 hours a week if you want to keep up with the main AEW and the main WWE content, because 3 hours of Raw, 3 hours of SmackDown, and then 2 hours of Collision and 2 hours of Rampage. And sometimes I worry that acts as a barrier for new fans getting, because if you watch WWE, that's probably a reason AEW struggles to get the numbers it once did. Who has the time? Like, if you're really into WWE at the moment and you're going to watch 4 hours, and next year it's going up to 6 hours, can you really be bothered to find the time for another 4? Sometimes I don't even think it's about the quality of AEW. I just think it's people get a bit exhausted from professional wrestling, as you would with anything, so they go and do something else. because your brain gets bored because we're just human beings. So, really good episode of Raw. Highlighted by CM Punk versus Seth Rollins. Cannot wait, man. And let's go crazy in the comments below. Make your prediction. For now, I'm going to go with Seth Rollins because I think some shenanigans are going to happen. But, come prove me wrong. It's the greatest thing ever. Also, please do like the video, share the video, and subscribe. There is a description down there. Click all the links for grillermind.com/Simon. Just go to Simon again. I've got new fitness supplements coming now. I love them. Same with patreon.com/Simon316. Simon316 on social media. Simon Miller on TikTok. On Cameo. Really enjoying all those Christmas ones at the moment. Simon J. Miller on TikTok. ProWrestlingTees.com/Simon Miller for dumb merch, which I forgot to wear. Just an Under Armour t-shirt. I am a moron. Got a few wrestling matches over the next couple of weeks as well, so I hope to see you there in London town. Otherwise, appreciate you all, my friends, and I'll talk to you soon.